Key point 1. Love is a verb. You don't just feel it, you also act it. Everyone seems to know how to fall in love, but few know how to keep relationships alive. During his early years of counseling, Dr. Gary Chapman saw that most couples were missing each other's points. One would say, "He doesn't love me anymore," while another would say, "I have tried everything to make it work." After going through 12 years of his notes, he noticed that most couples have answers that fell into 5 groups, which he later called the 5 love languages. It is quite sad that around 40% of first marriages end in divorce. And the challenge in many marriages is that couples don't speak the love language their spouse understands. Every day, we get to make a choice to speak someone else's love language. Gary Chapman, PhD. There is no language with just one way of expressing yourself. It also applies to love. There are various ways to show it. According to Dr. Gary Chapman, these are the love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, gift giving, acts of service, physical touch. Almost every other marital problem can be solved if couples learn to communicate effectively. The goal in a relationship is to do something for the person you love, not to selfishly try to get what you want all the time. Yet the reverse is the case in relationships today. But your connection will be different because soon we'll be going deep into love languages. By the end of this summary, you will be armed with information to help you discern your emotional needs in romantic relationships and tell your partner how to express love to you. You will learn to identify your partner's primary and secondary love languages and speak them appropriately. You will also discover how to move from the emotional obsession stage of relationships to mature commitment. Many people don't know how to do this, and they lose beautiful relationships. Sounds exciting? Let's get started. Key point 2. The in-love feeling doesn't last long in relationships. On a flight between Dallas and Buffalo, a man approached Dr. Gary Chapman and asked why his 3 marriages failed. He was a successful and intelligent man, yet he couldn't understand why his love for his spouse vanished some years after marriage. The man blamed his wife's complete devotion to their baby as the cause of the first marriage's failure. The second marriage failed from the start and only lasted for 3 years. According to him, his third marriage failed because his wife kept nagging and attacking his personality. He wanted to know what happens to love after marriage and how couples keep love alive to prevent divorce. It is the same question that many people are asking nowadays. Our physiological makeup is deeply connected to romantic love, so we continuously seek it in our marriages. There are several articles, books, TV, and radio shows on this serious issue. So why are we still wondering how to keep the love in married life? The answer is simple. We are missing the point that we speak different love languages. People tend to criticize their spouse most loudly in the area where they themselves have the deepest emotional need. Gary Chapman, PhD. Most of us grew up speaking the language we learned from our family, our native tongue, or primary language. Later, some people put effort into learning another language, which becomes a secondary language. We are often comfortable speaking our primary language. If we meet a person speaking another language, communication barriers pop up. Language differences are a big part of human culture. To communicate effectively across any cultural line, we need to learn the language of the person involved. The same thing applies to love. The language of your partner and your emotional love language might differ, like English and French. Therefore, you need to learn and speak the primary love language of your partner to communicate love to them effectively. Key point 3. It is vital to know the kind of love that's important to our emotional well-being. In English, love is the most confusing and essential word. Several religious and secular thinkers agree that love is vital in life. Psychologists have established that the desire to feel loved is a basic human emotional need. We use love when discussing our favorite food, objects, animals, or loved ones. Dr. Chapman focuses on the kind of love vital to our emotional health in this summary. A child needs to feel wanted and loved to grow into a responsible adult. Fulfilling this fundamental need fills up their love tank. But when it's empty, the child is disobedient. Take the case of 13-year-old Ashley. Her parents were extremely disappointed that she contracted a sexually transmitted disease, so they complained to Dr. Chapman. When he spoke with Ashley, he realized that she was sleeping with a boy at school because she didn't feel loved by her divorced parents. Not knowing her primary love language, her mom and stepdad couldn't meet her emotional needs. The emotional need for love tank, isn't restricted to childhood. It follows us into adulthood and marriage. A love tank is an emotional tank that needs to be filled with love. Unmet emotional needs might result in social and emotional issues. The feeling of being in love can give us a fix, but it's a short-lived one. After the in-love high wears off, our longing for love shows up again. Wanting love is the cornerstone of human existence. Marriage can fulfill this basic need. The secret pains that most married couples share with Dr. Gary Chapman, the author, are proof enough that adults also have love tanks. Maintaining the emotional love tank in a marriage is as important as maintaining the oil level in your car. Did you know? Research shows that couples in love experience synchronized heartbeats when they stare into each other's eyes for at least 3 minutes. Key point 4. Falling in love is a confusing phenomenon. Many people get married because of the in-love experience. They meet a person with personality traits and physical features that set off their love alert system, so they start dating. Sometimes the tingles do not last for more than a date. Other times they do, and we start saying, "I am falling in love." We become emotionally obsessed with the person at the peak of the in-love experience. We ignore any flaws or faults. The beloved is perfect. Before marriage, most people dream of marital bliss, keeping each other happy. We are told repeatedly that if a couple is in love, their marriage is unbreakable. Unfortunately, that is a myth. Dorothy Tenoff proved that through long-range studies. She found that romantic obsession doesn't last longer than 2 years. Once this period is over, close lovers can become enemies and fight over every small thing. It is good that the emotional obsession experienced in the early days of love doesn't last long. Otherwise, we wouldn't do much with our lives outside of loving our partners. For love to last longer than the initial obsession stage, effort and dedication are required. When the ethereal intimacy of the in-love period starts to wither away, our partner's faults become more evident. The loving couple starts to fall out of love. Then they separate, divorce, withdraw, or go off to find a new in-love experience. However, they can choose to work hard and learn to love each other without the euphoric in-love obsession. When in love, we temporarily let go of our egos to increase our chances of sexual pairing required to ensure the species' survival. Falling in love is an instinctual part of our mating behavior determined by our genetics. The kind of love that makes a marriage last is intentional and is known as rational, deliberate love. It is good news for couples who have lost in-love feelings. They can choose to keep each other's emotional love tank full. Key point 5. Amplify the effect of your words and use them to build up your partner. Words of appreciation or verbal compliments are powerful ways to communicate love. It is best to use simple and direct affirmative statements like, "You look beautiful in that dress," and "Thank you for doing the dishes tonight." Note that this doesn't mean using verbal flattery to take advantage of your partner. The first love language is words of affirmation. Here, the tone of your voice is exceedingly important. It is a fact that we are motivated to do something our partner wants when we get affirming words from them. Another way to give a verbal compliment is to encourage them, because we all have insecurities holding back our full potential. These encouraging words can help us to summon the courage to accomplish our goals. For instance, Allison had always enjoyed writing, but she couldn't change from her major in history. After her first baby, she wrote many articles and even submitted one to a magazine. A rejection slip made her give up on submitting her other articles. But her husband, Keith's encouraging words made her develop an interest in something she has always loved. Today, she has published several articles and even scored a book contract. The tone of your voice is exceedingly essential. By making requests, we affirm our partner's abilities and worth. Your partner wouldn't accept a sneering voice as an expression of love. We need to talk with kindness and tenderness. The way we express our desires is also important. If we portray our desires as demands, we lose the chance to promote intimacy and bring our spouse closer. To double the effect of your affirmative words, compliment your partner in front of friends and families, or talk about them positively to someone else. Love messages, poems, paragraphs, and emails are also great because your partner will get to read them many times. Key point 6. Your full attention can mean the world to your partner. Time is key to a successful and lasting relationship. How often do you hold hands and look at your partner when talking? Togetherness is the main part of quality time, because two people might be sitting closely in a room, but they might not be automatically together. This is where some couples have problems. A wife cleaning the house while her husband is complaining about his hard day at work is not giving him quality time because her attention is divided between cleaning and listening to him. Quality time doesn't mean spending all the moments looking into each other's eyes. What matters is the emotions created while together. It can occur while the couple is playing soccer or dancing. The activity creates a sense of togetherness. What makes you feel loved might not evoke the same feelings in your partner. There are many dialects of the language of quality time. One is quality conversations. It involves sharing your desires, thoughts, feelings, and experiences calmly and uninterruptedly. When your partner shares a problem with you, they usually want you to listen and sympathize, not offer advice or possible solutions. Quality conversations also need self-revelation in addition to sympathetic listening. It is hard for most of us because we were brought up to deny or hide our expression of feelings and thoughts. Key point 7. Your partner might value gifts or your presence more than words. Some people see gifts as an expression of love because gifts are a visual symbol of thought. You have to think about someone to give them a gift. It is why most weddings involve receiving and giving rings, a visible and outward sign of a spiritual and inner bond between two hearts in endless love. But these visual love symbols are more important to some than others. The third love language is giving gifts. If your partner's primary love language is receiving gifts, they will deeply value wedding rings and wear them with pride. You have to become an expert gift giver. If not, your partner might begin to question your love. Gifts are one of the easiest ways to express love because they can be made, found, or bought. All you have to do is keep a note of all the gifts your spouse has expressed interest in receiving over the years. To become an expert gift giver, you need to change your perspective about money, especially if you are the saving type. You hardly buy anything for yourself since you would rather save as much as possible. By doing this, you are meeting your need for emotional security and self-worth instead of your partner's. To invest in your partner's emotional love tank, worry less about savings and give gifts more often. Being there for someone who needs you during a crisis is more important to them than anything else. The gift of presence is also important to some people whose primary love language is receiving gifts. Key point 8. Don't let stereotypes hold you back from showing love. Serving your partner helps you to express your love by doing things. Actions such as mowing the lawn, cleaning the kitchen, bathing the kids, and walking the dog are good examples of acts of service. When you do some of those things positively, they serve as an expression of love because they require energy, effort, time, planning, and thought. The fourth love language is acts of service. When it comes to this, the little things often matter the most. Think of little ways you can help around every day. It is important to note that in-love obsession controls our actions and behaviors before marriage. After we get married, we change back to our normal selves. This is why a guy that helps out his partner in the kitchen while dating might not lift a finger to help after marriage. He might feel he doesn't have to work hard to please her anymore. Some of us need to re-examine stereotypes about the roles of wives and husbands in order to learn the love language of acts of service. For example, a woman once thanked Dr. Chapman for motivating her husband to change. The wife had always been the one to do all the house chores since they got married 35 years ago. After the seminar, he started volunteering to help out with tasks. She couldn't believe it at first, but he had never stopped helping her since. He was using her love language, and her love tank was filled. Key point 9. The touch of love may take many forms in marriage. Numerous studies on child development have concluded that infants who were held, kissed, and hugged develop into adults with healthier emotions than those with no physical contact for long. The fifth love language is physical touch. In marriages, physical touch allows couples to communicate marital love through kissing, embracing, intercourse, etc. It can make or break a relationship. But all touches are not equal. Your partner might enjoy one more than the other, so it is best to ask her what she sees as a loving touch. Don't assume she will enjoy some touches just because you do. Physical touch can help people to cope during crises. If your partner's love language is physical touch, give them a hug or other non-sexual touches when they're going through tough times. Some years back, Dr. Chapman had an experience with a couple when he had a seminar in West Palm Beach, Florida. The couple, Patsy and Pete, proposed that he spend the night at their home, and they told him their story on the drive to the airport the next day. They had grown up in the same community and attended the same school before moving to Florida after marriage. The initial 3 months were the best while setting up their new life. Problems started after 6 months when Pete began working hard and spending less time with Patsy. After a year, Patsy was miserable, so she started seeing a marriage counselor. After 6 months of counseling, their marriage improved because they learned to speak each other's love language. Pete's love language was physical touch, while Patsy's was quality time. Conclusion. Love can't fix the past, but it can change the future. Understanding our partner's primary language and choosing to speak it with them can help us foster a healthier emotional environment. Not only will we create new positive memories, but we can clear up past mistakes. But you need to discover your love language to be able to tell your partner about your desires. Once the love tanks of couples are full, other aspects of their relationship will take care of themselves. To keep the emotional love tank full, learn and use your partner's primary love language. Do one of the following activities regularly, depending on your partner's primary love language. Write down daily words of affirmation for your spouse and review the list with them on weekends if their primary language is words of affirmation. For the quality time partner, spend at least 10 minutes of undivided attention with them daily. If your partner's language is gift-giving, take their special days seriously. Also, think of ways you can surprise them on non-special days. Remember, it doesn't have to be expensive. Thoughtfulness counts. For acts of service, commit to helping around the house as often as you can. Run errands for your partner too. The last one is physical touch. If your partner reacts to physical touches more than anything else, start getting used to kisses, hugs, and regular hand-holding. Try this. Ask your partner to tell you one thing you can do to improve your relationship. Take whatever they tell you seriously. Make sure you listen to them, and remember that you are doing this for both of you. When you let go of selfish desires, your partner will appreciate it and put in the necessary effort to strengthen your relationship.